the Auburn Blitz Podcast, your direct source for all Auburn all the time with Brett Pritchard, Faith Richardson, and Randy Lee.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Auburn Blitz Podcast here on a Thursday morning. We are glad that you join us each and every day here on the Auburn Blitz Podcast, whenever and wherever it is that you tune us in and make an Auburn Blitz part of your daily Auburn athletic intake. Faith, good to see you. Been a couple of days, but glad to have you back on.
Good to see you too. Hope you enjoyed your trip.
Did enjoy the trip. Now it's back to the grind as we get ready for a big football game here in a couple of days in Auburn. Glad to see that it's in Auburn. I'm tired of being on an airplane. I'll go ahead and publicly profess that I've had a year's worth of flying in about a month. So you know about that because you were on most of those flights. But yeah, good to have a home game, but good to have this rivalry at Jordan-Hare Stadium in a situation where Auburn will have a night game. We'll get into all of that stuff. We'll talk about that and a lot of things to dive into that game. But we're going to start with some basketball, believe it or not. And Bruce Pearl spoke and had an interview on Dan Dakich yesterday. And I thought it was telling because – you know, when Stephen Pearl was announced and then we had the press conference and we went through all this, we really haven't heard Coach Bruce Pearl talk about what went into all of this. And so with all of that, we've had a bunch of speculation from everybody, from fans, from, media members. Everybody's kind of had their own idea of why it went down and the way it went down. And I thought it was great. Not that he owed anybody an explanation, but I thought it was great that he found a venue, an interview setting that he felt comfortable saying, look, here's how it all went down. And
let me backpack off of you saying that he didn't owe anybody anything. I think that he was able to understand that with what he did at Auburn, they deserved to know the real reason because of all the speculation going down.
I think you're exactly right. And, that's the kind of person Bruce Pearl is. We've all been around him. I really enjoyed the interview. I thought that he had a lot of great things to share in there about himself in the response to some of the criticism he's taken nationally from some buffoons, in my opinion, that have spoken without context. And I think he handled it with grace. I think he didn't come in there and he didn't fire shots back at people that fired shots at him. He just said, look, one part stood out. He said, look, all I've done my whole life is try to bring people together that, if somebody wants to call me divisive, divisive, however you want to pronounce it, somebody wants to call me that, then you don't really know a lot about me. And so I thought that was a good point, but, to dive right in, Faith, of why Bruce Pearl and the timing of this thing, it's like he said kiddingly, he said, nobody retires after they go to a Final Four. He said, who does that? And so he kind of went through all of that, but, he started talking about the personal side of things. And there's several points there in that first 10 minutes of that interview. A lot of times with an interview like that, Faith, it's on into the interview before you really get to the meat and potatoes of what you're talking about. But they jumped right in. I mean, Dan asked him right out of the gate, all right, why'd you do it? What happened? The first thing I thought was, and it wasn't the first point he brought up, but the first thing, or one of the first things he said was, I wanted to get out before it killed me.
Yeah. We've seen a lot with how much coaching strains on marriages, health. He talked about his grandbabies that he has and just how it consumes you. He even admitted he hasn't shown up as a husband in a lot of ways. And I mean, it's straining on a lot of those aspects. And so, yeah, I think that part stood out. It stood out to me of how much he respects this staff, that he has grown over the course of 11 years, 10, 11 years, that he didn't want them to move on somewhere else because he thought that they had a home at Auburn together, even though he was stepping away.
Yeah, I definitely want to get to that part that you just brought up, but I want to go back to the part about the family and when you're in the arena in coaching and you've had the success Bruce Pearl's had, he's victim just like most successful coaches. When do you step away? Because you think, well, I mean, he's built another great team. You know, he came in and when is the right time to ever step away from a job and then take coaching out? What about the rest of us out here in the real world? When you go, how much longer do I want to keep doing this? How much longer do I want to provide all of my attention to this right over here?
Well, you've done it. You've been able to step away from a job. I mean,
Step right into one that's 10 times more demanding.
right. But
But right.
that's he's stepping into another job himself as his family job. If you can't provide that family and being a husband, you're a leader. You set an example and you are the head of the household. So if he can't do that as a father, husband, man of God, then his whole household is broken. And that's what it says in the Bible. And so, and we know he believes that it to him, definitely what he's saying felt like a calling from God, that this is my time to step into my leadership role of the house.
Yeah, and he's had a great career. And the hardest thing for people that are successful to do is to walk away. It's very tough when you've been, like you said, in a position for almost 26 and a half, 7 years, like I was. And that's something that you know and you're confident in, and you've built a product. And then, you know, when is that calling right? Sometimes you just have to trust your instinct. I think he trusted his instinct here, because it would have been very easy coming off of Final Four and having another unbelievable roster put together to go, well, I'm going to give this one more year. And then one more year turns into one more year, and then one more year. But then he goes on to say a lot of other different things. But the biggest point of this, I think he said, was he felt obligated. And he talked about each and every one of those assistant coaches. He named every one of them and how long they had been with him and where they started and where they are now. And he said, if Auburn goes out and does a national search and they go get somebody else, he said, all of those guys lose their job. And he's right, because when a coach is hired, they've got loyalty too. They're going to bring their guys in that they trust and they have relationships with. And the guys that are in that current situation are going to be gone. So he felt an obligation with the timing of that thing to say, look, and he truly believes that Stephen Pearl is ready to go. He truly believes that Stephen, starting as a strength trainer to, director of operations to, defensive coordinator to assistant coach to co-head coach, kind of, so to say, to now this position over 11 years, that he's in a great position to lead this program. And he stressed when he and John Cohen talked, he said the most important thing right now in this day and age is consistency. And I'm going to talk about that with you about football a little bit later this morning. But he's right. The less upheaval and turnover you have, the better chance of success you have.
That doesn't just go with the coaching. He spoke about how it takes more than a year to actually love these kids, and how not a lot of the guys are there more than a year because of the transfer portal and NIL. And something that stood out was a lot of these kids have never been told no before. And if they don't like what coach says, they're going to hop in the transfer portal and go somewhere else where they can go do what they want to do. And there's no discipline anymore, which is a bizarre and insane concept to me, because that's exactly what going through school and when I grew up going in sports, the discipline aspect of learning and conditioning yourself in a way. And he said, with how different it's become, he's got a whole new team other than Tahad. If you want to do that one more year, like you said, it's one more year that you have to learn these kids. And then, okay, now I finally learned them. I understand why they do this. I understand where they come from. Okay, the next year, we can really apply what I've learned and group them together. Well, they're going to be gone.
He talked about Pat Dye. He said, you got to love on the players. He said, I don't think you have time to love on anybody anymore. He said, I don't feel like I can build the relationships. He said, we got to go through some successes and some tough times together that help us build a relationship together. And he said, when you're only there for a year, you don't have time to do any of that. You don't have time, like you said, to learn somebody truly and build a bond. And, older school coaches like Bruce Pearl, like Nick Saban in football, you're starting to see them all go, this isn't what I signed up for, and this is not the sport I coached, and it's changed, and I'm getting out. And that's happening more and more. And again, they're all getting to a point where they want to do some different things in their life. But Faith, that's really the crux of the matter, is that you're phasing a lot of these, senior level coaches out of the game because of this landscape that you have in college athletics now. And then he also went on to say something that we've said on this show so many times. What's going to happen to them when they get out of college? What's going to happen when the lights turn off in the arena or in the stadium and they're no longer the guy and they don't go on to play professional sports, because only a very, very minute amount of them have a chance, not go on to play successfully, but even have a chance to go play professionally. When that is all over and the spotlight's not on them, he said it. I didn't say it, but we've said it on the show. How are they going to handle being disciplined? How are they going to handle going out and finding a job and having to report and answer to somebody?
How else? Because a lot of them, he said, they're not graduating.
Right.
That's the other part of it all, is how are they going to be disciplined out in the workspace? I know you don't have to have a degree to get a lot of jobs, but
right,
having an education is a huge part of.
But you better learn you better know how to do something, Faith. If you don't have a degree, you better know how to have, you better know a trade, or you better be.
If you don't know discipline, if you don't know how to, take constructive criticism in a way without you just throwing your hands up,
right,
you're not going to survive one day out in the workforce.
And I've had many coaches, and you know this because you know some of the ones I'm talking about, high school coaches and college coaches, that said, look, I truly am worried about this generation after they get out of the college age range and what they're going to do for a career and what they're going to have to shift their focus and mindset to maintain a level of lifestyle that they can't maintain anymore. Like handing all this money and all of this instant fame and fortune that's going to evaporate eventually. How are they going to sustain that lifestyle, and what are they going to do to sustain it? This is all genuine concerns from all of these coaches. And everybody goes, well, it's real easy for a coach that's making $8-9 million a year to start saying, look, Bruce Pearl didn't come out of high school making $8 million or even $1 million. And how long did it take Bruce Pearl to work his way up to the stature of being heralded as one of the best coaches in basketball? He earned his way up there. Nick Saban didn't get handed the Alabama job or the LSU job right out of high school. They worked their way through the process to get to where they were, and they earned their way to get to a point where they could get paid that kind of money. We're handing, and I say we, society, just handing millions of dollars to kids coming straight out of high school, and they ain't played a down of football, they ain't dribbled one basketball or done anything. It's just really mind blowing.
It is. And like you said, a lot of these coaches are starting to say, okay, this is not what I signed up for.
Right.
This is not how I coach. We talked to Coach Tuberville, and he spoke about it, and he said, which this is still stuck with me, I would let them walk over the nice grass, and they would have to practice on the rocky, nasty grass, so that they had to work their way to playing on the nice grass, because you don't just get everything handed to you. You have to work your way for it. And a lot of these kids, they don't know that today at all.
You're right. And, that was, I thought that was great when you said what Coach Tuberville said, because I was there for it. I witnessed it. Now he didn't walk across it because I was driving him on a golf cart to the intramural fields, but he made those players walk out of the facility and across the road to the intramural fields. And it was bare grass. It was dirt. It was glass. I mean, it was all just a bunch of, it wasn't well kept up. And
Braden wasn't there taking care of it yet, was he?
Who's that? No, Braden was not a thought at that time. So, but yeah, it was just one of those situations where there's a reason, there's levels in things that you do, and you learn, and you have an appreciation. Like if you have to work to earn something, you appreciate it more.
No question.
It doesn't mean that we're sitting on here today saying student athletes don't deserve things. They do deserve it. They work their butt off. But the problem I think all of us have is that why have we established a society where we hand things to people before they have earned it? And then you create a culture of prima donnas that when things don't go their way, they just pick up all of their stuff and go somewhere else. And they don't know how to learn to deal with adversity and persevere through things to build character. Because if you wake up and everything's just roses every day, then, okay, that's great. You're fortunate. You're one of very, very few people in this world that happens to. Most of us have to go through tough times. Most of us have to deal with situations that we don't want to deal with. And that's how you figure out how to become a professional in your career and in your life.
Here's one thing that we talked about earlier is a lot of these guys are facing adversity with a new head coach stepping up because they came in not thinking that's who they were going to play for, and they're having to adapt and change. I'm not saying this is the case by any means, but like Coach Pearl was saying, Bruce Pearl was saying in his interview that if some of these guys go and complain, they're going to go somewhere else, or NIL is going to step in.
Right.
If someone's not happy with whatever is going on and they either threaten to leave or, they're not happy.
Yep.
Is that much adversity that they're facing, or are they just being compensated for their whining?
It's a good point. I just think that.
And I'm not saying that happened at Auburn. I'm just saying that's something out there.
No, I agree. We could go watch the interview, everybody, if you haven't seen it. But, I thought it was great to hear from him. And, he said, look, I'll be honest. He said, I think Steven's built better than I am for this,
Dickerson,
Yeah. I mean, so, again, he's had a great career. He didn't owe anybody an explanation, but as you said to start, he felt like he was obligated to tell everybody. And I thought that was good for him to kind of silence the doubters and the naysayers out there of why. And again, he put Auburn basketball in a position to where he deserves a little say-so. Okay. Now, he shouldn't be the ultimate decision maker. There's John Coe. I mean, you should be cohesive in this, but Auburn basketball was a dump of a program until Bruce Pearl showed up. And I don't care what anybody says. You can argue with you don't like what he says on Twitter and all this kind of stuff, and your personal, conflictions with his views on things, all that stuff. But what you can argue with is that he brought Auburn from a nothing program to a powerhouse national prominent program in his 11 years. And that had never been done by any coach at Auburn. There were spurts of success by Cliff Ellis and Sonny Smith and, on down the line. But nobody has ever come close, nor did any Auburn fan ever feel like they'd ever see a basketball program like Auburn has right now. And we've been to 2 Final Fours, Faith. I mean, go and look and see how many universities have never been to one. And I thought Auburn would be one of those schools that never went to one. He went to 2.
Yeah, and I don't think his plan either is just to stop, for Auburn to stop with him. And I think he's instilled that into Steven of
right.
Go chase after and show what I did you can do, because you've got a lot of pressure on your back, because he knows that. And that's just the truth of it right now. And he even said that Steven's got the toughest schedule this upcoming season in all of college basketball. And he was like, I don't know if I set him up the right way for his first year, but he's going to be taking on this role.
Sacrificial lamb, the reference.
Yeah.
Abraham.
Yeah. And so, but yeah, like we said earlier, I think he's got a lot of, he thinks Steven has a lot of what he doesn't as a coach.
Hey, look, I mean, we're here for it. I'm looking forward to, hey, he kept the roster. I think that says a lot. There were 2 or 3 players that probably had a legit chance to go somewhere and would have been taken in by any school out there, and they chose to stay. And I don't know why all of them stayed, but it doesn't matter. They all stayed. And so now everything has stayed in place except for Bruce. And all you've done is take Steven and move him up a notch. And you've moved some of the other coaches up a notch. So it's the continuity is there. Now, it is going to be a very challenging. Stephen Pearl said that to us, when we had that press conference. He said, it's very challenging. We're going to learn a lot about ourselves early. And it's going to be a growing, there's going to be some growing pains. But he thinks by the time you get into the SEC schedule and on down the line, that the team should be hitting its stride at the right time and will be in position to do some really good things. So what Auburn fans need to do is not get bent out of shape when you lose to, a team or 2 in this early going, when you got Houston and Oregon and Michigan and Arizona and all these teams. And we're going to an exhibition next week in Birmingham where they play Oklahoma State. I mean, you're going to learn a lot about this team and how they play together. And they've never played together. That's the crazy thing. They practiced together, but they've never been in a game together. So they're going to be learning on the fly as well. And that's the way most of these teams are nowadays because of the structure. So, yeah. So anyway, wanted to start with that. I know it's Georgia week. Like Kelly said, it's Georgia week. And we talking basketball. What does that say? Well, it's because the timing of Bruce Pearl and what he said yesterday. We're about to go into the Georgia game, and we've talked about Georgia all week. I mean, up until this point, I just felt like it was, worthy of talking about because everybody had so much speculation on why Bruce Pearl did what he did. So, but go watch the interview. All right, let's talk about some of our partners, and we're going to dive into this Georgia game. A lot to talk about. And yes, Justin, we're going to get to the prediction here soon. Sensagreen.
For air that's cool and clean this fall during dollar days, call Sensagreen for major discounts on HVAC repairs and installs, plus insulation with Professor Greenbacks. Get HVAC smart at sensagreen.com through Thanksgiving with up to $100 off HVAC repairs, $500 off insulation work, and $1,500 off a new HVAC system. Sensagreen with Carrier, turn to the experts. How cool are these coupons?
Very, very cool. Go get you a coupon, get you a new Carrier unit. Scout Program Management, a full construction management firm in Birmingham, Alabama, serving the Southeast. man, they've got a ton of projects going on right now. New school builds, athletic facilities. They're working with city governments on projects. If you've got a major project, you need to call Scout Program Management. You need a program management company that's going to take you from the pre-planning stages to the finished product. And if you don't have them in place and you're trying to do this on your own, you're going to be sorry you did. You're not going to get the service and you're not going to get the product that you want. So call on Scout Program Management. They'll handle it for you. They'll hold people accountable. Check them out in Birmingham, Alabama.
Bunkers in downtown Auburn. Go over there this weekend if you can't find a ticket to the game to watch the Auburn-Georgia game, because they've got a lot of new seating that they set up. They've got food, music, fun. They've got a lot of things going on each week of the month. And they've always got happy hour deals going on, some that you can't find anywhere in Auburn. So go over to Bunkers and hang out. Normally it's just Wednesday through Sunday, but maybe with NFL and Monday Night Football, that might be why they're open on Mondays.
Absolutely. Another opportunity to go hang out at Bunkers, and we love it. And I know a lot of you out there have been already, and if you haven't been, I don't know what you're waiting on. So go check it out. So yeah, this point spread 3.5 now. What's 4.5? Well, what's Vegas know? What do they know that we don't?
I don't know. They know something that we don't, because
They always do.
But here's the thing, okay? Auburn has the biggest advantage with it being at Jordan-Hare at night.
Right.
One of the toughest places to play. And this Georgia team is not as intimidating as some of the years past.
They're not. And, that's the thing. I want to go back and look at why Auburn's in the shape that they're in. And, it kind of is funny that Kelly said it's Georgia week and we're talking about basketball. Well, we wouldn't have Bruce Pearl had that interview, but Georgia week to this generation, Kelly, versus our generation is completely different. And when you go back and look at the history, just the recent history of going back to 2006, Auburn's won 3 times. You and I, Kelly, growing up, that ain't how it used to be. Auburn won as much or more than Georgia. It was even. Like, there's a discrepancy in the series by 8 or 9 games right now. How many has Georgia won in a row? 8. They're going to go for 9 this week. That's why this week has lost its luster, because Auburn hasn't fulfilled its end of the bargain. So what's the difference in this stretch versus what Georgia's had? And we said it when Alabama was struggling, when they went through everybody named Mike. They went and found a new Mike to be their head coach every couple of years. And Alabama was struggling, and Auburn went on a 6-year run where they beat them 6 consecutive years. I mean, why does that happen to a lot of teams? What has been the common denominator for Georgia versus Auburn? They've had one coach.
They found consistency.
They have, yeah. And I mean, one coach, let's just take the last X number of years, not going back to Mark Richt, but Kirby Smart and Gus Malzahn. How many coaches have been at Georgia since Kirby Smart, obviously, and Gus Malzahn were coaching to get against each other? Well, obviously one for Georgia because Kirby's still there. And look at the merry-go-round that Auburn's been through. When you're changing coaches every 2 or 3 years, then again, it goes back to the point of what we talked about with Bruce Pearl, what he said: consistency, keeping things on the tracks as much as you can. And Auburn has made some bad decisions. Now, again, people come on here and comment all the time, we should have just kept Gus Malzahn. We should have just had Gus Malzahn. Why did we get – now that you're looking back, you go, we should have just kept Gus Malzahn. Well, let me tell you why we didn't keep Gus Malzahn. Okay, because in 2013, he won 43-38. And then he scored 7. He didn't score, but the team scored 7. And they scored on the first drive of the game. It was 7-0. Auburn in 2014. The final was 34-7 Georgia. Okay. And then you go back, and I was at this game and I was at the next game. Two horrendous offensive performances where you put up 13 points and 7 points. That one in Athens in 2016 was one of the worst football games I've ever sat through. I had a Georgia guy sitting beside me that got up in the third quarter and said, hell, I've had enough of this. He said, good luck. I can't watch any more of it. And Georgia was bad too. He's like, this is a pillow fight. And he's like, I'm not watching any more of this. And, nice to meet you. Good luck. Be safe traveling home. I'm leaving. And he did. And it was a god-awful game. And Auburn lost it 13-7. It was one of those deals where Georgia just happened to make one less crappy play than Auburn did. Then you go to the 2017 season, and Auburn turns it around with Jarrett Stidham. If everybody wants to remember, coming out of the 16 season, Gus Malzahn was on a hot seat because the offense had just been tanking. And he goes out and gets Jarrett Stidham from Baylor, and Jarrett Stidham saved his job. And what Jarrett Stidham did was create a massive buyout for Gus Malzahn, because Auburn went on to have a successful season, ended up playing Georgia again, the SEC championship game, and lost it. But by then, the damage had been done. Gus had got his buyout. He threatened to leave to go to Arkansas. Auburn's administration fell hook, line, and sinker for all that junk, and he signed a big contract. He came back, and he went back to being the Gus of 2016. Lost 27-10 in 18, lost 21-14 in 19, lost 27-6 in COVID year, and he was out. So he won twice against Georgia. I'm just using the Georgia matchup since that's what week we're in. So all of everybody saying we should have just kept Gus Malzahn. Well, in the moment, I bet most of you weren't saying that. And so you go out, and then comes the ultimate disaster. And you go out, and I don't say you, not us, Alan Green goes out and finds Brian Harsin in a hot tub somewhere and brings him to Auburn to pretty much try to completely destroy an entire football program. And he was pretty close at doing it. So you look at those results, 21, you lose 34-10 and 42-10 in 22. I know that's, again, look at these offensive performances.
I was in Athens for the 2022 game where Auburn lost 42-10.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
That was I didn't go to the game, but I was, there in Athens, and
that was the only touchdown we scored was Jarquez Hunter returning a kickoff return, wasn't it?
Yeah, and the only thing that they all could say was, I'm sorry to see this. This is, and it was just one Georgia fan, but they were the only nice ones I've ever met in my entire life, where they said, I'm really sorry about this. I said, hey, it's all right. Not even watching anymore. It's all right. Oh, that's the only nice Georgia person I've ever met.
That's how sad this has gotten, that you're starting to get apologies from your rival saying, hey, I'm sorry that this, and I sat next to a really nice gentleman yesterday on the plane. He may be watching today, that watches us. Nice to meet you. It was great. And he's a Georgia fan. And it's like, he said, man, very nice. And he said he loves this week. He loves that. I said, I bet you do. But he's talking about the history, kind of like Kelly, and how unique this rivalry is, and is the oldest rivalry in the South, and all the things that go with it. And, he was talking about Vince Dooley and Pat Dye and the crossover, and how one played at one and then coached at the other. And it's just there's so much intertwined into these two schools. And, it's sad to look at the results, but, the difference is that Auburn is sitting here again with another coach on a hot seat. And you're down to a game because of the way this season has started with this roster. You're sitting here looking at a Georgia game that's a must win. You ought to win. You want to win it every year anyway, but this is a game that you hadn't won in 8 years. and you're trying to make this a must win. And I asked you the question before we came on, is it possible for Hugh Freeze's seat to get hotter than it is? Could it get hotter if he loses this game, or is it already at max temp as we sit going into the game? I mean, I don't know that it can get hotter.
The seat that he's sitting on is hot. It's a matter of, is he about to set a match to the entire house?
That meme where that dog is sitting there drinking coffee and the whole house is on fire, and he's like, everything's fine. It's all good. Yeah, I mean, that's what it feels like. So, but here's the deal. I think you as Sisyphus and us fans continue to wait the boulder to come rolling down on our hope. That's the thing. It's like Auburn fans are like, okay, this week it's gonna change. You know, I think Auburn fans were like, Oklahoma game, we're gonna go on the road and gonna pull out a win, and it's good. Okay, that fell apart. Okay, it must be Texas A&M. We're gonna go to Texas A&M. We've had Texas A&M's number. We play well at Kyle Field. That didn't work out. So now here we are. We move to the next one, and that's what it was like last year with all those close losses. And probably the most embarrassing loss last year was the Missouri game, where you led the whole game and a guy came back from the hospital. Like, I don't know that I've ever seen that in my life. The dude was carted out of the stadium, went downtown to the hospital, and was brought back to the stadium and led the last drive of the game for a win. You can't make this crap up. And so it's like, it's always to the next week. So when is that next week going to actually pan out and Auburn get a big win? And now all the hope is on this Georgia game of maybe this can be the spark. Maybe this can be the thing that turns this season around. You know, all the stuff that we talked about the roster being in place and the schedule being favorable and all this kind of stuff. Well, we're here at a crossroads at this Georgia game because Auburn dropped those two games on the road, Faith. So now it's in must-win category because you drop to 0-3 in league play. We all know where this thing's headed.
Auburn can't keep having a rotation of coaches that lead us to a new head coach in women's basketball, a new head coach in men's basketball. A year ago, 2 new head coaches in softball. Auburn cannot have a
lot of turnover
head coach in football because just as Bruce was saying before about you can't love on somebody for just a year
right.
And then, you know, them be gone, you be gone.
But what does this say about evaluation, Faith, of who you're going out and trying to get? Again, Hugh Freeze may win, and it may be the start of something beautiful. And he may just this path may blaze, but we have yet to see it. So we're living in the present right now. And the present is Auburn's had 4 consecutive losing seasons for the first time in mine and your lifetimes. Okay. They're knocking on the door, if they lose this game, of figuring out a way to not have a 5th one. And losing the team and losing the because once you lose this game and you start seeing that there's not a lot to play for other than pride, how much is pride going to get you through the rest of the season? We find ourselves at this position every year. This is the same discussion, but the point is what's going on with the choices that are being made to bring coaches in, because obviously it hadn't worked. Gus Malzahn had success at Auburn. I'm not saying he was a failure, but he couldn't get it back. He was more riding the down wave than he was the up wave. He had 2 really good years in 13 and 17. He had a couple of decent years, and then he had several mediocre years. And Hugh Freeze has been here now in his 3rd year, and he ain't had a daggum winning season yet. So I just think that you gotta go. It comes down to people making the decisions to hire these guys. What is out there and what fits Auburn and Why, when they get here, can't they get things going in the right direction is the question.
Yeah, Justin made a good point. Positive thoughts. Lost 2 top 10, top 7 teams on the road by just 1 score or less. Maybe Hugh can get it figured out. I do too. But the thing is, where I think you and I both are coming from is the talent that Auburn has on its team is not being used
There's no question.
properly.
There's no question. It is absolutely no question. I think that's the nail on the head right there. It's not like Auburn's trying to do more with less. Auburn's doing less with more. That's really the whole point. And I'm with you, Justin. Auburn did lose. Like, on the surface, Auburn lost to 2 top 7 programs in their home in tough environments. But it's how they lost. And that's what you and I and Jason talked about the last time the 3 of us were on here together. It's not about the score, because over the last year and a half, Auburn's had one close loss after another. But it's how they've lost these games is what drives you crazy.
And the way that they could have literally been handed a win because
Right.
the other team shot themselves in the foot, and Auburn still managed.
Yeah, it's not like these teams are trying to hand Auburn wins. Like, Texas A&M literally did everything in their power to give Auburn a win. They couldn't take it. They could not take it. They had the ball twice in the last 4 minutes of that game, and credit Auburn's defense for playing the way they did to give the ball back to the offense. But they couldn't take advantage of it, Faith, and that's the thing that's so frustrating. Like, I was trying to be Mr. Positive down there in the end zone with you, right? I looked at you and I said, guess what they're going to do? I said, I feel it. They're going to drive down. They're going to score right here in front of us, and Auburn's going to walk out of here with a win. It's going to be great. They couldn't even get a first down. So it's like, at some point in time, you become numb to it, and you got to go, we just got to wait and see if it's ever going to happen. And that's what we're going to do again Saturday. We're going to wait and see if Auburn can break this 8-game losing streak to Georgia, get a massive win in Jordan-Hare, get its first conference win this season, and turn the season around on Saturday. Or are they going to continue down this same path? It's really the crossroads. That's where we are with this. We are at a crossroads. And can they do that? That's the question. MS said how AU losing added to what Hugh's shown since his first game is why the complete lack of belief this change in positivity. But I don't. I mean, again, I think we're in a situation where everybody's just got to see it happen. But I think it could be pure elation on Saturday, or it could be as dead as a doornail as you could possibly. That's the two opposite ends of the spectrum that you can have. All right. Justin's gone ahead and said I think he's gone ahead and naming the tiebreaker for us. And I'll go with that since he started it. Predictions, and we'll take them today and tomorrow. And then we'll just make the tiebreaker rushing yards for Jeremiah Cobb. You good with that, Faith?
Yep, perfect.
The hell
Got it written down already. So anybody else, go ahead and get your predictions so I can go ahead and type them down, and
right.
We'll see.
We'll get them. So I love it. Hey, 30-14 win over Georgia. Man, I know you and I are going to be smiling Saturday night.
Wait.
Oh, did he say Georgia? Oh, he said Georgia winning, not us. My bad. That's why he said the hell with. I thought he just going ahead and making a bid. I misread that completely. My bad, Justin. Now he's flipped all the way around. I guess we've turned him into the negative side. So maybe that won't happen. Hopefully that won't happen. So get your predictions in. We'll take those predictions today, tomorrow. And then, of course, we want to remind everybody, Faith, we have the post-game show coming up Saturday night again.
Brought to you by Pepper Tree Steaks and Wine. Absolutely.
Love Pepper Tree Steaks and Wine. Do a phenomenal job. Justin going to go with Missouri beating Bama. So there's a little bit of positivity coming back that way. Make sure y'all get your predictions in throughout, and then they can go in and add those in the comments, right?
Yep.
Faith. A couple more of our partners here on the program before we get off this morning. Number One Customs, bathroom, kitchen, bedroom, whatever it is that you're looking for, they've got it. Complete renovation, outdoor living space. They're the ones to call. They do a great job on all of it. Make sure you check out Number One Customs. They're the best in the business. Going to have some pictures coming up for y'all very soon. But Jake Bartall and his staff, they do a tremendous job. Go check them out online. Look at all the great work they do. Number One Customs right there in Auburn.
JFA Blue Plumbing will install that Home Atlas water filter duo for just $15.99. It's so important to have filtered water for your health, your family's health, everything in between. It's disgusting when you see what comes out of non-filtered water. So go ahead and call on them at 844-JFA Blue. And Oliver Ross, if you've got a tailgate, if you've got wedding, sorority, fraternity, date party, anything, Oliver Ross is going to be the certified licensed bartenders for you. I mean, seriously, you cannot ask for much more than having people go there, set up on their own, and then break it down and leave with literally not a trace left behind. So call in Oliver Ross. Go ahead and get them at your tailgates on Saturday.
And let's talk about Russell Medical Center. Glad to have them. Top 3 best hospitals in Alabama. A great small hometown hospital with all the care that you can get in a big city. So top doctors, top care. Make sure you check out Russell Medical Center in Alexander City for your health care. They do so much for you and your family. So make sure you check out Russell Medical Center in Alexander City, right there on Highway 280. Convenience of small town, not all the big city stuff that you have to deal with, Faith. So we're proud to have Russell Medical on. Well, if we'd have been here, Justin, we would have participated. They just had a big event. Speaking of Russell Medical Center, the Tutu Run on Tuesday for breast cancer awareness. So a big event. So we're going to be going out to Russell Medical at some point in time. They've got some other events coming up, so we're going to be there. We're going to be back on location next week again. It's we've got all our schedules ramping up. We took this week to kind of decompress as well, having the off week this past week, and then going into the Georgia week, and then we don't have a high school football game tomorrow night. That's off too. So it was a good opportunity for us to kind of get a breather, right, Faith?
Yeah, no question about that. It feels like if I'm not working here, then I'm doing some sort of work in my own personal life with my dogs. So been having little surgery girlies, but it's all good. They did well, for anybody that was wondering.
Yep. So glad that they did well. So still working going on, just not in our normal places. So
hey, it's amazing what remote working can do.
That's the world we live in now. Like being in a brick and mortar office for some jobs, really, you just paying rent on a building for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, seriously, find a way to save cost and stuff like that. Not to hit any of you real estate agents trying to sell commercial property out there, but our particular business, we don't need that.
Yep.
So our offices are our homes, and
everywhere in between,
and vehicles and planes and any kind of transportation that you can get in. So how about that? MS says Faith is AU's own Erin Andrews.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Very, very good. You always get the compliments. I always get the criticism. That's what I'm here for. I take all the criticism over here. But all right, so that'll wrap us up this morning. Again, the Auburn Blitz show at noon with Andy and Jim will be on here in just a few hours. So make sure you tune them in right here on YouTube and Facebook. And if you're watching on Charter Cable, you can check them out on 701 or Channel 80 there. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please go do that. We'd appreciate it very much. To all of those that have, we are very appreciative of you. And make sure you hit the like button out there. It helps us out tremendously. Faith, you got anything else this morning?
No, I just hope everybody has the best day ever.
as always, go be nice to people. Do something good today and help somebody out. Always makes you feel better. All right, everybody, we'll be back with you with the Friday edition in the morning, game day eve, and possibly have our buddy Kyle Rush with us in the morning. So we'll check in with him and see what he's been up to this week. And I know he went to practice earlier this week, and he may have some thoughts on some things heading into tomorrow. So Faith, good to see you. Hope all of you out there have, like Faith said, the best day ever, and we'll see you tomorrow morning.